really big Gaz Hawk. When he does it right, the guy's phenomenal and he's a game changer. And then when he loses his head, he's a liability. So keep an eye on Gareth Hawk is what I would say.
Yeah, he is one of the most exciting players to watch, like you say. Let's move on to St Helens, who, for me, were kind of the opposite of Huddersfield last year, in that they did suffer injuries to their key positions. Roby, by far their brightest light, and Johnny Lomax, the second best player really that they have, especially with that move to fullback that he made early season, ripping Bradford apart. I remember in one game,
awful day,
and then got injured and missed a lot of the season. I mean, in the 11 games they both played together, Saints won 68% of them. But in 9 games that neither of them played, they only won 33% of them. I mean, that's a massive difference.
Crucial to the spine of the team,
twice
really.
as many wins, really. So, I think how they manage if those players get injured again, because there is that potential. I mean, it's not the first season that Roby's had a significant portion, a couple of months missed, and Lomax isn't the toughest bill, I would have thought, personally. But they've signed Luke Walsh, which makes a difference, because that means they've got a half-back, because last year they played the derby at Wigan with Wellens and Wilkin in the half-back roles. It was the slowest, most pedestrian, dullest, least creative half-back combination I've ever seen.
And that's it. No way biased, though, considering who you support.
Oh, John Wilkin, hands down, great bloke. All the stuff with the union, the stuff
better pundit than a half-back.
Yes, there you go.
Fair enough. Now, I like Luke Walsh. I think, in terms of could he have continued to play in the NRL and been successful, then absolutely yes. He's that calibre of player. I don't think he's a guy who's at the end of his career who's looking to make a fast buck in the Super League because he can't get a deal down under. He's obviously made a move.
I think it was the timing, really. He signed for Saints just before he got his chance back in the Penrith side.
That's right.
Then had a strong run with Penrith, and I think if that run had started maybe a month sooner, he probably wouldn't have been coming over to St Helens.
Absolutely. I think he's going to be a real jewel in the crown for St Helens this year, and I think he's going to complement the rest of their spine really, really well.
And he's going to get to play behind one of the biggest packs in Super League history.
Awesome. Especially with the addition of, and now it's my turn to incorrectly pronounce someone's name, Mose Masoe, who also from Penrith as well.
Mossy Masoe, yeah. Or Masoya, I've heard it different ways.
Yeah, feel free to tweet and correct us on our terrible pronunciation, by the way.
I mean, Kyle Amor and Richard Bowman as well. I think that makes up for losing 2 old players like Pulatua and Perry from the pack.
Yeah.
Maso's going to miss the start of the season, so it'll be interesting to see when he comes into the team if that makes a big impact, because you will be able to tell because of the period where he'll be out for the first 2 or 3 games. I think, if they play behind the pack well and they keep the 1, 7 and 9 safe from injury, they're going to go well. If they don't manage that, then it's going to be like last season. They're going to be inconsistent. I have them finishing 4th because I think that one extra player who can create things in Luke Walsh, who's the key man because he's the difference from last year. He's the change.
Yeah.
He's my key man. That's why I've got them finishing 4th. And the one to watch is Adam Swift. Came in back end of last season after being on dual reg up in Cumbria, and he scored 13 tries in his 12 appearances last year, and that included a hat-trick in the playoffs over Hull KR, and I just think he's been given the wing place in the squad numbering. Looks like he's going to be the go-to guy there.
Yeah.
Exciting player.
Yeah, I like the look of Saints on their day. I think they're a fantastic side, but inconsistency is the issue for me. Again, my key man's Luke Walsh. I think he's going to be what their season hinges on in terms of making the difference between finishing outside the top 4 and finishing in it. Personally, inconsistency is a big issue. I don't think that they'll solve it, and I think they'll finish in 5th. But my one to watch is a young forward called Joe Greenwood, who came in again toward the back end of last season.
Scored the winning try against Wigan.
Scored the winning try against Wigan, he did.
In the Pat Richards drop goal derby.
That was a fantastic and entirely meaningless drop goal, and in that game Joe Greenwood also scored the winning try. But he looks like, even for a young lad, the complete package in the forwards for them, so he's my one to watch.
Did he score the winning try?
I think so. We'll be correct there.
Someone will correct us.
Absolutely.
Right,
Wakefield Trinity Wildcats.
They are the other broken club of the trio of broken clubs. 2013 ended with them selling a player to pay the wages, telling their stellar recruit probably for this year that you can go find somewhere else because we can't promise you the money anymore that we were going to give you, basically. And then there was a bit of a flash sale. You saw Ayton, multiple player of the season award winner. He's gone. You've got Kane, who was the top try scorer in 2012. He's gone. You've got Tim Smith, who was the playmaker, the go-to man, more assists than any other player in the team last year. And then Amor and Justin Poor, who were the guys who carried the ball the most in the forwards, made the most meters in the forwards. There's a lot of production in that squad that needs replacing from the signings. I think Paul McShane could do a good job. I think he played quite well for Leeds last year when he did play, but it's not stellar. I like him. Don't get me wrong, but it's not exciting. It's not an exciting. Wow, this club can do something with this guy, and neither really for me are any of the NRL signings they brought in. They didn't play a lot last year in the NRL. Peter Godinay did play in the World Cup. Samoa did quite well, scored a couple of tries, assisted a bit. So maybe it's going to be a creative spark. We just don't know. The only thing I think they've got going for them really is the grit and determination, fighting spirit that Agar seems to manage to get out of them.
So is it a case perhaps for Wakefield of the whole being greater than the sum of its parts? Because a good inspirational coach like Agar, a guy
I just don't know how he's that inspirational.
He doesn't look particularly inspirational when you see him on television,
France.
but he must come to life in the changing rooms. He comes over quite dour and retiring, doesn't he, when you see him on television? But he clearly knows how to get
the best out of
his English players and his English-speaking players. Yeah, the French team really is the exception to prove that rule for me, as far as Wakefield's head coach is concerned. I've got a lot of sympathy again for Wakefield and Wakefield fans going through it. It's a difficult time for rugby league in general, down the bottom end, and finances and what have you being tight for a lot of sides. So I feel an affinity for them, and I hope that they do well. And they seem to have made the right moves in a sensible way to preserve the club in terms of, let's sell some of our assets, let's live within our means again, and let's be realistic about what we can expect to achieve.
And the board were very open in coming out and saying that at the end of last season. I think that was an impressive statement they brought out. I think everyone applauded them for that. It was honest. It was
absolutely, and it's something that's been lacking.
Message. Yeah,
something that's been lacking in other teams, and the Bradford Bulls particularly. There's not been that communication from the people in the know.
There was no dancing, fireworks, this is the start of a new brilliant era. This is the start of a dangerous, difficult period, and we're going to get through it as best we can. Yeah.
Absolutely. So credit to them, and I hope Wakefield exceed our predictions for them because of that. I like Danny Kearmond. I think as a captain, he's going to be vital for them this year. He does very, very well for them, doesn't he? He's got a lot of tries for a forward in him. I'm looking at the numbers. 13 tries for a forward, which is a good return. I think he's going to be Mr. Wakefield this year, to be honest.
Yeah, he was also really good at working hard in defence. I mean, his marker tackle stats were phenomenal. He was the highest at the club, and it's impressive when you see a back row forward who's only really playing one side of the pitch most of the time, getting involved in that many tackles from the marker position, working hard, leading from the front in a defensive capacity. So that's good, yeah. So he's your key man. You have the one to watch for you.
Peter Godinay as well. Godinette. I'm not sure if it's the French soft T or not.
Is it Peter?
I think it's Peter. Peter Godinette we'll go with. He's going to play a key role for them if he's coming in the halves, and he's going to have to hit the ground running. And if he does, and he can move them around the pitch and get the ball to his outside backs, then that's going to go well for Wakefield. If he doesn't perform, and if they struggle in the halves, then we all know that teams with bad half-back combinations don't do well. So it's pretty key for me.
So you're having him finish?
I've got him 12th. Avoiding any potential two teams going down if that's what they
do seem to manage to stay up, don't they?
They like staying up. Hopefully it won't come down
They're the only team who've had close escapes, really, in the Super League era, really.
Yeah.
I have them not escaping this time. I have them in 13th place. I have them enjoying the new system from the other side of the divide early season in 2015. The key man for me I put as Paul McShane because, and this is going to be a theme with the rest of the teams left pretty much, he's replacing their most important player last year, so he's going to have to step up. He's going to have to work hard. If he does what he can do on his best days, at his most impressive performances, he'll poach a few tries, he'll work hard in defence, he'll be the key man. And the one to watch, I've gone with Reece Lynn. They need another winger because Cocaine's gone, and I think it's bound to break through at one of these stages. It's getting to the sort of the end of that period where he can still be classed as a young player learning his trade. You know, he was very young when he got his bow at Hull when they were very excited about him. I like him. I have them finishing 13th though.
13th for Wakefield, so good luck.
Warrington Wolves. It's always their year.
From the sublime
Just
to the
like the
ridiculous
last one.
Warrington Wolves.
It's always their year.
Yeah, that was a great night in October. We both went to the grand final, and I think from a neutral point of view, although I must confess to have sided with Wigan on the night simply because you were my lift home, that it was a shame to see them capitulating the way they did, especially when they worked so hard first half and took advantage of some pretty glaring Wigan errors. But yeah, it's always their year, and this looks like a squad that's capable of making a serious challenge, doesn't it?
It really does. I mean, they've lost 3 old heads, stalwarts of the cup successes, you know, from the last few years. You've lost Breers, you've lost Hodgson, you've lost Morley. That's your captain's gone, essentially. Although, bit of research that I myself did last year, halfway through the season, when I was trying to prove that Wigan weren't the only one-man team in Super League. Saints are another. But no, is that they actually won more games over the last 3 years without Breers and without Morley than they won with them. A lot of those games coincided with each other.
Sorry, more games without Lee Breers in the team
Yes.
than with, not Lee Breers and Morley being out.
No, when there was a period of 118 games that I looked at.
Right.
73% of the game, 73% win percentage without Breers over the games he didn't play, and 69% with Breers. Morley, 77% win percent when he didn't play, and only 68% when he did play.
The deafening silence from the BBC's production department for any Warrington Wolves game on television.
But then, you know, I think they've replaced those players quite well. Matty Russell, outstanding in the World Cup, talented player, flashed a bit in Super League when he had a loan spell over at Hull FC, and has learnt a bit more playing in the Holden Cup down under last year. Scored a few tries, played quite well by all accounts. Bit too low on the pecking order at Gold Coast to come into the team, though.
Yeah, that's fair to say.
And then Stephen Ratchford. For me, he's going to be the player of the season. He's the key man. He's replacing the key man, so he is the key man. And he's a natural rugby league player. He's played in a number of positions, all with aplomb. He was brilliant last year when he played. I really like him. I think he's a great player.
Yeah,
so
I agree.
There's my key man and my one to watch for you, Stephen Ratchford and Matty Russell. I think they're going to finish top of the table again.
I like Stephen Ratchford and I like Matty Russell, and I like the fact that they've got ready-made replacements for a difficult-to-replace halfback, and I think there's a good production line there for Warrington, and I think that will keep them consistent this year. And yes, they've got a good blend of these very talented younger guys with
Curry,
with some good experienced players as well. The Monaghan's, guys like Monaghan, Westwood, Hyam, the 2 lads that Bradford shouldn't have let go, Atkins and who's the nut?
Bridge.
Yes,
I don't like Bridge.
Well, I think the best thing I ever heard about Chris Bridge was that he's got a kangaroo loose in the top paddock. But on his day, a good player, and of course the better of the Grixes as well. So yeah, I like Warrington. I think there's a good blend there. There's some real talent and some game-changing players. So I don't think that said that they're going to do better than Huddersfield. I think Warrington are going to come second. But I don't think it matters because they're not going to win the grand final either way. They don't win grand finals. So
let's move on to their neighbours then, the Chemics, Widnes Vikings. I think the side started to develop last year. They were, improvements. There was players that started to look like they can compete in Super League. I'm thinking of Joe Mellor in particular, Ben Kavanagh, Phil Joseph.
Yeah.
Well,
Phil Joseph only had one way to go, really, didn't he? So, but it's a credit to Dennis Betts' coaching ability, because to be honest, speaking of Phil Joseph, when the Bulls announced that they'd signed him, he'd been working as a doorman or running a bar in Halifax, Huddersfield, Cleckhouders, that general area, and I was astounded that we'd spent money on him. He promptly played 4 or 5 times for the Bulls first team and was shipped out, but he seems to be someone who's done well, given an opportunity,
making the best out of what he's got.
Absolutely,
sure.
and playing with Dennis Betts. So credit to the coaching staff that have got that out of him. He's, they've turned him into a Super League player.
The big change is the second row. I mean, you've got Hock and Winterstein, who were the sort of explosive